This is my effective communication presentation on communication between adults in the workforce. I decided to look at home visits. This is what we do, mainly for the first contact with the parents and the child within the home setting. So we looked at, these are all the different areas that we talk about for our homes. So we do talk about daily routine and activities, or what our routine is throughout the day, throughout the sessions. And then we look at, we have uniform, the backpack, where they bring with them, their nappies, what to include in them, session prices, half terms, the closures we have, talk about key person and how that will implement within a couple of weeks with them being there, who they make an attachment with, that sort of thing. And then we look at the dietary needs. If they've got a child's got any dietary needs, what we provide for snack, etc. And then we have policies and procedures. And then we highlight the safeguarding policy, which is a big one. So if they've got any issues when they're there, or vice versa, then we will talk to the parents about it. And the EYFS. So all this, we do like a little two-way communication process. So we talk to each other face-to-face within the setting and allowing time for any questions, making sure we're both understanding things together. Also, with this process, there's a non-verbal communication that will be going on. So if you can relate quite a lot on facial expressions. If the parents doesn't understand, then you can ask a question again, relay it, repeat it, that sort of thing. Also, we include families, all different cultures and backgrounds, so we provide an anti-discriminatory practice within our setting. We establish how much understanding the parents and the child have, and what is the best way for a smooth transition into our preschool. So this is about the EYFS. So I link this in the different areas of what within the links into our home visits. So we've got the staff setting, talking about the key person, food and drinks provided for the children, how we support their educational needs with disabilities through our SENK. And then we've got the routine, daily routine settings, how parents and carers share learning at home, how the EYF is implemented within our setting, and how parents can process that. We're doing that through Tapestry now, so parents got that online. And then we've got the details of providers, policies and procedures. And then we link that back to home visits. This is important, the information for parents and carers, get this from the beginning so they know how we implement things. And then I went on to the Common Core, key principles, where we link this in. So we link this in to our home visits. This is how we all, for these ones, we've got the two-way communication process. And then we've got communicate effectively. That's one that we need to maintain all the time, so that we've got the two-way process going, and that parents can understand what we're saying, and we get feedback from them. And then we've got the questions that they need to ask. And this one here is about if they don't understand anything, so they can ask again. Be aware of different ways of communicating as well. So understanding barriers. The parent might have hearing, speech problem, or they might be illiterate if they can't fill any forms in. Develop and use effective communication systems appropriate to the audience. So again, another barrier, if they can't understand English as a second language, then we may need to help them understand, speak more slowly, use visual aids if needs be, talk to them, ask them, that sort of thing. Build rapport and develop relationships is very important. So this is why we do home visits. So it's from the beginning, build that relationship with the parents. Most importantly, we must listen to what the parents about their child. At the end of the day, they know them best, so they know what you need to do. So then I looked at the Barnwell transactional model. I thought this fitted in well with our home visits because it's a two-way communication. So you've got the sender, both sender and receiver. So you send a message back and forth, receiving feedback from each other and face-to-face communication. This was proposed by Barnwell in 1970, and he also talks about interpersonal communication. This includes non-verbal communication, facial expression, body language, clues on how another person is feeling. Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Keep going. Just go back. Yeah, go back. Brilliant.
Right, so then I looked at interpersonal communication. Marsden in 2006 identified two fields of communication: interpersonal and intercultural. She said that exchange of information vertically and through bodily expression between two or more people in order to influence the appearance of action, ideas or thought at work and leisure, or community pursuits, or individual domestic lives. So it's having like a two-way conversation again, or personal one. And this is like going to our home visit, where people can express their ideas on how they're feeling, emotions, and that sort of thing.
Click it. Go off the button. That's fine.
I looked at intercultural communication. This is where it's more to do with beliefs and different ethnic minorities. They have to be respectful, polite and non-judgmental when talking to them. Because if you go into a home, some of them, they might not shake hands, they might greet people differently, so you have to make sure that you know how they interact with people. We've got body language going on. Their body language might be completely different to my body language. They might not think I'm talking to them how they would like to be talked to, vice versa. We have a lot of non-verbal going on. Then I looked at...
Just move your mouse again.
Advantages. So Greenfield supports the home visits and suggests it provides an opportunity for parents to ask questions and practice to introduce themselves to the child and family before they start in the setting. And also, Jenny Linden says the home visit, as much as the setting period, the child starts with the beginning of a relationship, in which you communicate what you value for young children. So, the advantages are, we found that a child may settle better because you've got to know them within their home. And, you know, you can talk to them about pets and things like that. And begin to build a rapport and a relationship with the family. Allows the parents to feel relaxed within their home environment, and they can feel empowered because it's actually within their home. You get time to talk to them, which is not, when they come into the setting and talk, you don't always get the time. So you get extra time to talk about, you can talk about any concerns they've got with their child, or advise them with any problems they may have. And communication is a two-way in this process. So you've got both sender and receiver in the same environment, like transactional model. And then we've got disadvantages. So some parents might refuse a visit from us and say, no, I don't want you coming in my home. But they probably might feel undervalued, not wanting to, thinking we're going to judge them. They might not have much toys for their children, they might be in a deprived area, so they might not want us to go in and be nosy and feel like we're going to report them maybe. And then for finding the time as well. Sometimes we don't always have the time. We've got staff-child ratios at preschool, so. They might have had a bad experience with people going in the home before, with another setting, and that's so they're not that forthcoming with us going in. Disadvantages at training. I feel that we don't get enough training to go, especially with the parents that have got from multicultural backgrounds, and we don't know much about their culture. So I thought training is a disadvantage. We're not trained to go and speak to them in that way. We don't see the dads often. When you go to a home visit, it's normally the mum. Dad's normally at work, so we don't get to build that relationship straight from the start with them. There might be noise in the environment that's distracting what's going on around everybody. Yeah, that's my disadvantages. Oh. And then we've got barriers. The barriers are refusal of home visit again, exactly the same really as my disadvantages. But the ones that I want to talk about is semiotic barriers. This is where the communication is a symbolic, more of a body language barrier. Like I was saying about multicultural before, that you can't, if they might interpret what you're saying in the wrong way. So it's not intended, making the message difficult to understand for each other. The symbolic obstacle may be different from another person, especially for those from different cultural backgrounds. Communication is difficult as cultures are different and have different meanings or words or symbols. Therefore, non-verbal communication cannot be relied upon. Then we might also got another barrier for other stresses in the family. There's something that's happened, about a breakdown of a relationship. So then I went to look at improvements, how we can improve these things within our setting. So one was the training again, the training to multicultural, learning about different cultures, doing alternative arrangements for the parents. If we want to meet on come to our setting and go out and meeting area and have a talk. Invite parents, carers to stay and play mornings so they can come in with their child, not just a home visit, but invite them in and they can come and play for a little bit whilst their child gets settled. Welcoming everybody. So we've got more welcome board into our setting with all the different languages on, so you invite them so everyone's included. Adapt to needs and abilities more for the child, so I thought within the handouts that I gave you, maybe we could adapt it into another language. So we've got English and their language together so they can compare and help them fill it in. And then we've got a translator at work. She's Polish, bless her. So we have quite a lot of Polish children, so maybe take her on a home visit if the parent really has got no English, so we can take her with us. This is my conclusion. Now I found this quote, Tony Robbins, he's a life coach. So it says, effectively communicate, we must realise that we're all different in the way we perceive the world and use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others. So I felt that that rounds it all up, the home visits and how we perceive and everyone else perceives the world. Thank you very much for listening.